Hey guys, John here with another video. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about Wrestling 101 basics again, and in this episode we're going to do the Sprawl. Now this is a very important move for any wrestler because it is probably the first defensive move that you'll learn in practice, and if you're trying to defend a shot, the Sprawl is 100% necessary. Well, there are alternatives, but pretty advanced moves, and the Sprawl is a pretty reliable go-to no matter what. So, in middle school wrestling, I pretty much dominated most of the competition with my Sprawl because you can be a defensive wrestler, although once you get to high school it does not work. I would not recommend it. You want to learn offense too. You got to be a balanced wrestler, but certainly you need to have a good Sprawl if you want to compete at the highest level. It's also important for jiu-jitsu, MMA, and for self-defense because again, you don't want to be put on the ground. Sprawling is a good way to keep yourself on your feet. And you can also reverse it, get on top of the other guy using a Sprawl. I would even sometimes goad a guy who I knew I could catch with my Sprawl into taking a shot, and then I'd try and Sprawl on him, and it did win me quite a few matches. Wouldn't do it every match, pretty risky, but Sprawl is important. So, what is a Sprawl? Well, as the name implies, when you're sprawling, you are going to sprawl yourself out. So, when you do a Sprawl, you're going to want to be in your stance ideally so that you have your power, your leverage, your control. And when you're defending a shot, first of all, you don't want to immediately sprawl unless your goal is to get the guy, in underneath you so you can get that reversal, get the takedown. But ideally, when you're trying to just not get taken down, you have lines of defense. Your first line of defense is your head. If they can't get under your head, they can't attack your legs. They can't grab you, they can't take you down. So your head is your first line of defense. I always would like to keep my head in the neck, the crook of the neck. Right here where the trap is, where the shoulder and neck meet. I like to keep my head buried there, my forehead. That way I can keep them off balance, out of their stance, not square with me. That's what I like to do in a match. If they get past your head, let's say they level change real quick, or they're just really strong, they're quick, they're good, they get past your head. Then your next line of defense would be your shoulders and your arms, and your forearms. If a guy's taking a shot on you, if, say, you lower your shoulder, I don't see that happening often, I don't really expect that, but that's a possibility. You could post with your hands, push them back, create space using your arms. And your forearms just the same way, you post on them. And when you sprawl, you're still going to want to try and get your arms, your hands, your forearms in there so that you can push their head down. Because if you don't push the head down, they're going to be able to posture back up after your sprawl, attack again. So that's important to know. And then the sprawl, the last line of defense is your hips. If a guy's gotten past your head, he's gotten past your arms, he's grabbed your legs, your hips are your next line of defense. You're going to push your hips in. Buck your hips into them, push them over. So the way you're going to do that is a sprawl, which is where step one was a sprawl. You're going to try and get your legs far away as you can from him. And at the same time, you're going to push your hips, you're going to push his face into the mat. Your goal is you want your hip, this line right here, to hit right on the back of their head, right? So when I'm sprawling, right like that. See my feet go very far away so he cannot pull my legs in. You don't want to sprawl with bent legs like this. He's just going to pull you back over. You're going to get taken down. So, when you're sprawling, for beginners especially, you want to try and sprawl square. So that means with your hips flat into the mat. Because especially if you're going against a really good guy, because if you sprawl to one side or the other, then, which is what I like to do, by the way, because I'm much heavier this way, force spread pounds per square inch, so one hip, less surface area than both hips, and also just feels stronger that way. So you want to try and sprawl ideally on one hip, but the guy can do what's called a peek out, which is a move where they will come around the side, get your back through the sprawl, and if you go to one side, it makes it a lot easier on them to do that. So my coach always teaches to sprawl square. A problem with sprawling square, especially for guys, you can probably imagine, you're going square down. You might hit the head with your groin, and that could very much hurt. So that's probably one of the reasons why I started sprawling to one side. But all in all, I recommend sprawling to one side once you get good with it. And you're probably going to get good at the sprawl a lot, really fast, if you practice with somebody who's good at shots. So that's important. Another part of the defensive information for defending a shot that I didn't talk about is called a down block. So down block looks kind of like this. It's the idea of you're putting your head down and getting your feet away if they're trying to take a shot on you. One drill that we did a lot in wrestling for me was called the 1-2-3 drill, is what we called it. And the idea of it is, since I've talked about just now the down block, the shot, and the sprawl, the idea of the drill is you have a partner or somebody who calls out 1, 2, or 3, where 1 means you down block, and you're always in your stance, by the way, moving around, walking. If they call 2, you would take a shot, and then if they call 3, you'd sprawl. And if you have a partner, then it's really good for practicing your reaction. And if not, you can do it on your own too, which is something I do. It's a very fun drill. I very much enjoy it. And I would recommend just practicing your sprawl a lot. You can also have a partner roll a exercise ball towards you, and you try and sprawl on the ball. That's a fine way to practice it. Or have a partner take a shot, you sprawl. Now what do you do after you sprawl though? Because you stop the shot, and you're here. The guy's underneath you. What do? Well, you want to get behind him. So you have to block the arm, put your hand in pressure on the head, and circle to the back, get your 2 points. And even if it's not a wrestling match, you still would like to get behind him. If it's jiu-jitsu or MMA, rear naked choke. And if it's another fight, you're behind the guy. You can also rear naked choke, or you don't even, you could also sprawl, come back up at their knees, but for wrestling, which is the main focus of these videos, the goal is after you sprawl, circle around, take the back. Now, again, when you're circling around taking the back, put pressure on the head, block the arm on the side you're going to, make sure he cannot posture up, and grab your leg and continue the shot. Because that's what he's down there for, that's what he's thinking about. And bear in mind, he might try and peek out, so be ready to scramble. And that's what you do with the shot. The sprawl, off of a shot. So the sprawl, again, is a move that really was important for me as a wrestler. Was not my number one winning move. The move I used that really won matches was my cradle. But that's just because I'm pretty strong for my size. But the sprawl is a move that, to be a good wrestler, you have to learn your stance, the sprawl, and the shot. There's probably not ever been a wrestler who didn't know those 3 things. And so yeah, thank you guys very much for watching this video. I'll see you next time, and God bless.